Well, good morning. I'm meteorologist Lisa Green on this Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Hopefully you've got a nice weekend planned ahead. We've got a lot of things going on this weekend and a lot of things that could be impacted by the weather as well. So we want to get into what to expect as we are making our way through the rest of our Friday and moving into the weekend too. So it's going to be hot. We're looking out for steamy conditions too with the heat. And then on top of that, it's going to be unsettled. We've got chances for storms and severe weather coming up here in the forecast. So want to make sure that we are ready for that here coming up in the forecast. So let's get right to it. I'm going to take a look outside first off at a couple of locations. Fargo, our sky cam right now looking pretty good. We've got mostly sunny skies. There's a little haze in the air still, but the wildfire smoke that's been in the region, it's improved and it continues to look a little bit better for us here for today. Let's look at our next camera. This is from Grand Forks, East Grand Forks on the East Grand Forks side. Earlier today, I noticed on the Greenway, we had a lot of vehicles pulling boat trailers, and I was wondering what's going on. And turns out we've got a catfishing tournament going on in East Grand Forks along the Red River today. So I've been watching that camera here as well. Looks like we've got some pretty good weather for that. Hopefully anglers brought their sunblock. And in addition, it's been a bit foggy this morning. That has lifted. Our visibility is looking a lot better as well. So here's a look at our air quality index. We are seeing conditions that are better, not completely free and clear. We were more green this morning, but some of that smoke has kind of backwashed a little bit into the valley. So now we're more into that moderate range right now. So it may be noticeable for you if you're extra sensitive. We also can see a little bit of a haze in the air still as well. But most of the plume has moved eastward. You can see this orange here. I'll step out of the way so you can see it a little bit better. Orange and red back over toward St. Cloud, toward Duluth and Minneapolis, seeing that range of air quality here. So we've improved. And with the wind kicking it out of the south today, I think we'll continue to see some improvements going on here in the forecast. And here's a look at that in our surface smoke planner. We want to see no color on the map, and that's what we're seeing out to the west. But there are still some areas, again, with some smoke. This is starting off at noon today, and then continuing on. You can see more to the east, there's still some smoke hanging around, but we're seeing a lot of improvement into tonight. Heading into Saturday, there may be a little more trying to work its way in, but it's going to be really hot. We're going to have that warm, it's the hot air mass really out of the south, and winds out of the south that may help to keep the smoke that's north of the border at bay as we head into the day on Saturday. So a couple of days where we get a nice little break here from the smoke. Looking at our radar and satellite map, I have our black and white channel turned on here for our satellite, so you can just see where the clouds are compared to where the ground is, where we're clear. And you can see a few clouds drifting through. There have been a couple of sprinkles with them. That's really fizzled out, so nice to see that improvement. I can't rule out an isolated shower, a thunder shower into the afternoon hours and into this evening, but it really is as we get into the later hours tonight and overnight that we'll see our next chance for some storms coming up here. So for today, it's a good day, I think, to head to the pool, or if you're driving out to the lake for a long weekend, looking at conditions that are going to be pretty good for this. We're looking at 80s, mid 80s for highs in Fargo. I'll have 85 degrees, and seeing more sunshine than not out there today too. Here's a look at our view across the region. You can see we've got low to mid 80s, maybe even some upper 80s coming up for today. Wind will be kicking in out of the south. We're going to get some gusts going into the 20s and 30s for some areas. This is for Fargo. You can see heading into the afternoon and into the late night, we'll see some gusts upper 20s to about 30 miles per hour. Wind out of the south the entire time, and steady speeds into the teens. So the gusts will be a little bit stronger. We've, of course, seen worse around here, but I just know it's going to be a little breezy to go with that. And that's helping to usher in the heat and also the muggy air that's going to come back into the valley today. So let's take a look at our hour-by-hour planner. We are looking out for, again, through the afternoon. I can't rule out an isolated shower storm. And by 8 p.m., our latest model update does have a couple of storms in the northern valley. So again, we don't want to rule that out here for us today. In addition to that, we're looking out for conditions that will be unsettled into the overnight hours. There's the potential for some storm development in the west, shifting eastward overnight. This particular model update doesn't show it, but earlier versions from two different shorter range models indicated that line kind of pushing through right through the heart of the valley. So what this tells me is that we don't have a solid timeline and location for storms here for this evening and into tomorrow. What we do have is the potential certainly there. Each model run is showing a cluster of storms moving through. But again, it's going to be a little bit uncertain here exactly where this is going to happen. So everybody needs to be ready for it. The general rule here will be as we go through the morning hours, the intensity will start to come down. But even at 5:30 in the morning, again, this model is showing a cluster of storms moving its way through the valley and even continuing on into later Saturday morning. This is 9 a.m. before that clears out and we see some heat building in for Saturday. So we'll be watching for that here. This is through noon on Saturday. We'll be clearing out. So let's take a look at our severe weather threat and impacts. Again, this evening into the late night, overnight hours. We're looking out for overall impacts of severe weather possible across much of the valley. Everybody has a chance through tomorrow morning of some thunderstorm activity, but the threat for severe is going to be greatest out west, where the storms will have already developed and they'll be initially moving in. And then as they move eastward, the expectation is that they'll weaken overnight. So that's why we're more in a marginal risk into northwest Minnesota. So that's what we're looking at for the areas of risk. And the impacts that we're looking out for, we do have the potential for all types of severe going into this round. There is a tornado threat. We'll get into that in a second, but it's a low risk. And then large hail and high winds, of course. And then anytime you have a heavy thunderstorm moving through, there is the threat for localized flooding, especially in urban areas, and standing water in trouble spots too. That we'll be keeping an eye out for as well. So let's talk about each individual risk. We do have that tornado threat tonight. And any area in green here, you can see on the legend up top that we've got the what's associated with the risk. And so we're talking about a low risk. And then in areas in black where we don't have contour, that's no risk. Our threat for tornadoes is a lot lower in the south and east. But places like Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, even Fargo and Jamestown on the edge of this, and parts of northwest Minnesota for tonight. So again, watching out for an isolated tornado tonight. In addition, we're watching for hail, kind of in those same areas that are under the slight risk for storms. We've got an elevated threat. That 1.5-inch diameter hail potential is there. That's about ping pong ball size hail. And then more isolated threat again in northwest Minnesota. So focal point in eastern North Dakota. And the wind threat is in that same area essentially, but more places are under a wind threat, whether it's elevated or isolated, with gusts to 70 miles per hour possible heading into tonight. So again, watching out for more storms coming through the valley. We want to make sure we have ways to be alerted to them, especially because it's once again happening while a lot of us are sleeping. So you want to be woken up before that you hear the storm coming your way, so you have a chance to wake up and gather your family and get to your safe place if you have a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning issued for your area. So here's a look at our hour-by-hour planner beyond tonight. So that's through tonight and into early tomorrow morning. We do have risks for severe coming up for this weekend as well. And so let's talk about this weekend. This is Saturday, 9 a.m. Again, we could have some ongoing storms in the east. Those start to move on, and we end up with a lot of sunshine. This is noon Saturday again, and dry weather for Saturday afternoon, right when we're heating things up. We've got that humid air in place. We're going to take a look at our temperatures coming up here in just a bit. So Saturday, most of the day, not really seeing anything. It's once again heading into the nighttime hours, evening and into nighttime Saturday night, where we're watching for storm development. This is by 10 p.m. We might have some storms ongoing or developing at that point in time. Could be in eastern North Dakota. This is something you'll want to watch heading into Saturday evening. Of course, VNO Weather app, great way to keep an eye on the radar. And as we take a look at the overnight hours, you can see these storms once again rolling through overnight and continuing on into tomorrow morning. And there's the potential some of them could produce some severe weather. Heading into Sunday, isolated threat. This is a less organized chance, but still a possibility for severe storms. We could see some in the afternoon developing in the eastern part of our viewing area, south and east especially. And then again, heading into Sunday night, there is that potential for storms. So we'll need to be weather aware throughout the day on Sunday. Still going to be steamy, maybe not as hot as Saturday with some more areas of cloud cover, but still on that steamy side for Sunday. So let's get back to our severe storm risk. I'm going to go through each day because each day through the weekend we do have that chance. We just went over Friday's chance, today's threat. Again, slight risk for the valley. I did want to expand a little further because it's the weekend, a lot of people traveling. And so if you're heading west into western North Dakota, you may run into severe storms in that direction too. And that's where it's more likely to start up sooner. So late afternoon over toward the Dickinson area, and then the threat kind of migrates eastward into tonight. And then again, that marginal risk for northwest Minnesota. So that's today. And a reminder, our severe thunderstorm risks, they are issued from the Storm Prediction Center. It covers a 24-hour period from 7 a.m. that day and all the way through the overnight hours to 7 a.m. that next morning. And so Saturday's severe thunderstorm risk starts Saturday at 7 a.m. all the way through Sunday at 7 a.m. And that's critical to remember because Saturday, I think we're not really going to see much stormy weather during the day. We'll have those departing storms in the morning, and then again later evening and overnight that chance for storms. And that's when we have our marginal risk that covers some of the same areas, eastern North Dakota and parts of northwest Minnesota. Heading into Sunday, starting Sunday morning, all the way through Sunday night and into early Monday morning, we have that marginal risk that covers the entire valley yet again. So active weather, this is a level 1 risk both nights, so the risk a little lower, at least it's looking like right now, than for tonight, but we could see that change. So again, we want to make sure you're checking back with us on that here. So that's the risk for storms. Here's a look at our weekend forecast. Saturday, again, most of the day going to be just hot, humid, sunny. It's that late severe storm risk that we're watching out for. And then Sunday, still muggy, still warm, still looking at temperatures into the upper 80s and chances for scattered strong storms on Sunday too. Again, some of them could turn severe. Let's take a look at our rainfall potential. I'm doing a cumulative rainfall potential. So this is through today, tonight's storms, through Saturday, through Sunday night. Sorry guys, I cut that off a little too soon here. So this is through Sunday morning, we'll say. So this is 10:20 where I've cut it off, unfortunately. We're seeing that potential for an inch or more of rain in some locations where that heavy rain moves through. Unfortunately, I think Sunday and into overnight Sunday night and into Monday, we have the potential for more heavy rain. I can't go back and fix this right now. I'd have to walk into another room to change that. Otherwise, I'd drag this out into Monday morning for you. But again, we're looking at a decent amount of rain, the potential for 1 to 3 inches of rain by the time the weekend is over in some areas. Not everybody gets that amount, but the potential for more rain with this round. So it's not just going to be rainy. The moisture in the air is going to be quite tough. Here's a look at our muggy meter, our squiggly line here through, this is 10 a.m., checking in at 10 a.m. every morning, where we're looking at humid conditions starting today, and then it gets really steamy heading into Saturday and into Sunday morning. And then, Sunday's still going to be on that muggy side, but then it really comes down as we head into next week and we start to see a shift in our weather pattern. But be ready for the mugginess, be ready for the humidity. And that, of course, is a factor when we talk about heat and heat index. So this is Saturday afternoon, a snapshot of 4 p.m. These numbers here in boxes, the left is your temperature, the right is your heat index, and you see that number right there. It's going to be high. So for Fargo, our forecast high for Saturday, and I think Saturday is going to be our hottest day at this point, we're looking at a high of 89 degrees for Fargo, but when we factor in that humidity, that heat index, 97. And again, heat index, a lot of people are like, I don't want heat index, I want temperature. But heat index really tells the story of how it feels on living things to be in that air mass, in that atmosphere, because it's not just the heat. The humidity makes it tougher to cool down because all that moisture in the air, we cool by sweating, and then that sweat evaporates and that cools us down. If there's already moisture in the air, your sweat doesn't really evaporate and you can't cool down. And so that has some real impacts on the body. So that's why we like to include a heat index. And this is, again, what it feels like for us here. So again, we may see some places, this is Wahpeton here, where we get to that century mark for heat index on Saturday afternoon. So factor that into your plans if you're going to be heading out to any events, whether it's the fishing tournament in Grand Forks, it's Loco Days in Dilworth, any of those festivals and fairs or any events you may be going to, factor that in. Take breaks from the heat, get into some air conditioning if you'll be outside, and of course, hydration, number one thing here during these events. And find some shade when you can too, because it is going to be pretty sunny on Saturday. Sunday will still be steamy, but I'm thinking it's not going to be quite as bad. So again, if you're heading out maybe to go golfing, Saturday may be the better day because we'll be drier for much of the day. Morning hours, so morning tea times, could be affected by some of those lingering storms in the east. Midday just plain hot, so again, be prepared for that. And then heading into the late night, we'll see that chance for storms. Sunday, we'll have to watch out for more areas of scattered storms. Again, it won't be all day, but it is a possibility here. So again, big weekend ahead for a lot of folks, and we're looking at some heat, some humidity, some stormy weather. As we're looking ahead to our 3-day planner, we're kind of ramping up into that range into the weekend, but we do have that relief. Again, I just want to show you this for next week. Monday still warm. We'll have some chances for some rain still lingering into Monday morning. And then that moves on, and then we enter this really kind of pleasant period into next week. Some days where we're mostly sunny. I'll step off and bring up the graphic full for you here. We'll have days that'll be mostly sunny, several days in a row. I'm hoping it won't include wildfire smoke. We'll have to see, but it'll be nice to get a break from having to keep an eye on stormy weather in the coming days next week, and it won't be a scorcher either. And you can see by the weekend we're getting back into that 80-degree range coming up for Sunday. So again, we're watching out for storms as we make our way into the nighttime hours tonight and factor in the heat too for this weekend. We'll of course be right here keeping you up to date on any storms that develop and updating that forecast as things change. Again, there's still some uncertainty in the location of some of these storms overnight tonight and again on Sunday as well. And Saturday night could be interesting too. So several rounds here coming up as we head into the weekend, and we'll of course be keeping you up to date on that. So in the meantime, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Friday. Just keep an eye on the weather and stay safe as you're out there having a good time for a summer. Last weekend of July, by the way. You can see on our 11 day, that Friday, next Friday, is the first day of August. So summer cruising along. I hope you have a great summer weekend and a safe one too.